What about that new video I put out recently? What do you think?
I think it's great. That's the main reason that I got you on the show right now, is I wanted you to bring that up and talk a little bit about the whole circumstances around it. We're going to post the pictures of that on the program so you folks can take a look at it. Dan had just an accidental encounter where he heard some noise and he started taking pictures in the right direction and he came up with some really good stuff. And you want to go ahead and talk about that?
Sure. I went up and I can't get into my regular area yet, which is up in that Sky Lakes wilderness I talked about, because it's still snowed in. I mean, we're talking high elevation, you know. And I may be able to by next weekend. I'm hoping to be able to get there. But anyway, it was a few weeks ago. It was actually April 25th, I believe, that I went up to an area which is adjacent to another wilderness area, which is just adjacent to my wilderness area, kind of a thing, where it's just basically nonstop mountains, like you said. There's one highway that runs through there between where I was and where my regular area is. So it's pretty remote. So I went over to this new area and I got as high as I could up into the mountains, up into the snow again, and moving trees out of my way and everything to get up there. And literally there was nothing up there. No nothing. And I don't know the reason for that. I don't know if I have a theory about migration, and it's more like local migration, where I believe they just go from the higher elevations to the lower elevations within a certain area. Right. I think it's possible that, like out in the plains, out there in Montana, where it gets really, really, really super cold, that they may migrate west. But like here in Oregon, I believe they stay pretty much at home. So, if I can't find them up high, I'm going to look down low. And I think during the wintertime, when it's really cold, they're going to be just like the deer and the elk, and they're going to be down as low as they can get next to a river somewhere. And in the summertime, they're going to get up high, way up there, where it's cooler. And, and they kind of follow the berries right up the mountain, basically, as they're blooming. So I go up there and I'm doing some pretty hard four-wheeling and stuff, trying to get up as high as I can. I get back up into the snow where I can't get any higher. And then I come back down the mountain. And the interesting thing in that video was those three big rocks stacked on each other. Somebody asked me about that. I just answered the logical way, like, I think loggers must have done it just to mess with people at me. But in all honesty, it was pretty strange because, like you said, they take boulders and block off old roads, like the Forestry Service does it. And they do that around here all the time. These are the exact kind of rocks that they use. So I pretty much know 90% sure that those were set in front of that little road by the Forestry Service. And there was no motorized tracks back in there. So it doesn't even really make sense that loggers would have moved them to get in there or anything like that. It's like, it just doesn't really make sense why those big, huge rocks are stacked up right there. But besides that, I didn't find anything very much evidence. And I got to point out here, at this point, I took on the mountain up there, I took probably a 20-minute walk all around, kind of resigned to the fact that, there was nothing going on, and stopping and taking pictures of flowers and stuff. And I stopped in down by the street, and I took another 20-minute walk. I was out away from the truck, all by myself. No dog, no nothing that day. I was just by myself. And, at this point, I felt anything was wrong. I felt I was safe the whole time. I never got the tingly feeling. I never got the hair standing up on my neck, nothing. Okay, so I just took a couple walks in the woods where, in my estimation, there was nothing going on. All right, so then I'm cruising down the road further, and I get to this spot where I can see mountains in two different directions, and I'm up in the trees. It's real pretty, so I think this is a good spot to take a couple pictures. Just trying to salvage the day and get a couple pictures of nature, if nothing else. I absolutely love being up there. I really do. Yeah, it's just great being up in the mountains. But so anyway, I get out and I walk behind my truck and I'm taking pictures on the mountain where I was just at. Then across the way, there's some more mountains, and I'm walking back towards my truck. I hear this really loud tree snap. And I had the camera in my hand because I was taking pictures of the mountains. And I literally just reached up and took a picture that direct. That is the picture where I caught the possible Bigfoot in the picture. That first picture. And I believe they were just watching me. They were just seeing me walk around and take pictures, you know. And I think I was really lucky to catch them. Right. And I just aimed that direction and clicked. And then I clicked the video on, and I said, you know, if there's something over there moving, I want to catch it on video. And I did the same thing. I raised it up over my head. It's a terrible, shaky video. It's awful. But, you know, that wasn't my point at the time. I wasn't trying to make a perfect video. I was just trying to hopefully catch something moving, you know what I mean? But then I cut off the video, and I take a couple more. All right, now between the time I started the video and stopped the video, those shadows in that first picture completely moved. Absolutely. The one on the left of the tree is gone now, and the one that was on the right of the tree, the one that has a really big profile, had gone back behind where he was and was just peeking up over, looking at me through the bushes. Now, it's really hard to get a sense in the pictures of the depth, but being there and then looking at pictures, you know, I can see the individual branches that were in front and behind him at the time, and then I can see that he was behind all of them. And what he did was, when I caught him that time, he was just backed up in there. And then between the time when I started the video or whatever, and when I was running the video, he somehow got back behind where he was, and you know, got himself out of sight a little bit. But I just happened to catch him in that first picture. And you know, I was looking at these pictures. It was actually a couple days later that I started really looking at the pictures because, like I said, it was kind of uneventful. Oh, but I did have that feeling. I mean, when I was there taking those pictures, and then I started taking pictures where those guys were, man, I had that really heavy dread and feeling of fear. And you can actually see it in those couple last pictures that I took where I was backing up towards the truck as I took the pictures. And then I got in the truck. And this is a guy that just took 2 20-minute walks in the forest, okay? So it's not like I'm a chicken shit out in the woods and I was afraid to be out there. It's just a matter of that feeling that I got, man. It's almost overpowering sometimes. It's really strong. All right? So because of that, I took numerous pictures at that spot. I probably took 15 pictures. There was only 3 that showed that one spot where those guys were at out of all those pictures in that video. So I get a couple days later, I'm going through the pictures, and I was just kind of scan along, just zoom in a little bit, and then kind of scan the tree line around. And I saw this figure in there. It was just black shadow. And I'm like, wow, man, that looks almost like the brown thermal. I mean, the shape of it is like, that's crazy. And I was totally thinking it must be just shadows, must be a trick of the light or whatever, right? So then I showed a couple buddies my picture, and, you know, Ed Brown, as a matter of fact, one of them, and he didn't think it was nothing, honestly. And I respect that. You know, he always tells me what's up. He tells me what he's not going to sugarcoat stuff just because we're friends. He didn't see nothing in the picture, and that's, I think, mainly because I sent it through Messenger, and it's just terrible when you send pictures through Messenger. The degradation is just awesome. So he didn't get a very good picture to look at.
Yeah, they degrade a lot.
And it was really super dark. Okay, so then I was talking to another buddy online. I showed him, and he took the time to lighten up the video. And he showed me this little screenshot from the video where he saw a head, and he said you can see the brows and everything, you know. And I was like, wow. And again, he sent Messenger, so I'm looking at the picture going, I don't know. I don't really see nothing. But then I started lightening up the pictures myself. And I have no hardware on my, or software, whatever, on my computer for manipulating pictures at all. So the first thing anybody thinks is Photoshop, you're totally out of it. You can come over and look through my computer and try to find a Photoshop program. There's not none there. So anyway, all I had was my phone, my Samsung Galaxy S5, which has a movie, or like a studio thing on it for pictures, where you can write on pictures or whatever. So all I did was I pulled in, zoomed in, and then took a little screenshot, and then sent that to my studio. And all I did was I hit autofix, which totally fixes like the color and everything, and and it also brightened it up a little bit. And then I hit define or sharpen, and then all I did was go on the scale, the brightness scale, and brighten them up a little more than what the autofix did. That's all I did, and all of a sudden I could see that guy in there a little better, and I could also see another one, which actually my buddy online brought it to my attention that there was another one on the other side of the tree. I was like, what? That's nuts. And then, now let me tell you about this for full disclosure purposes, all right? There were two more that I saw in the tree, in my pictures. That,
oh, geez.
One of them looked like a pure white face, and the other one looked like a little one that was crouched down, and you could see his little gray face. And, so I see these, and I'm looking at those pictures, and I mean, the definition on that face was like incredible. It's like I zoomed right in there. But then when I did this investigation and I did the comparison shots and I was there on site and I looked, then I could see what naturally caused that to look that way. And it was amazing, the trick of light that caused it. I'll have to show you the picture. It really, really, really does look like a face. But
a good example of pareidolia then. Yeah.
Exactly. And also a good example of what my investigation uncovered. And now that, to me, makes the other ones seem better because my investigation proved that there was something there. And it also proved that the ones in the tree were most likely not there. So the same exact techniques, same exact investigation, and I came to two different conclusions from two different areas. So I think that adds a little bit of credibility to the ones down on the ground. All right? And then besides those pictures that I took afterwards, I mean, when I was heading up there, I swear I was almost hoping that I would see something behind there that would have caused that darkness, and just so that I could explain it. And so that I could make the case against, pareidolia, and you really got to know what you're looking at, and don't just trust a picture without comparison pictures, And I was going to teach that lesson if that's what I found. I wasn't going to just all of a sudden hide this up because, they're not there. No, I was going to come out and show people what I had thought was there and then that I had proved was not there. Just for the betterment of the community and just teach people that not everything is as thought was. All right? But that's just not what my investigation found. It's not.
And by the way, kudos on the job that you did on the follow-up there with the tape measure, taking comparative photos and all that. That was spectacular. You did a great job on that, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know that that's what it takes, and that's what people need to realize. Even if you were just camping and you think you got a picture of one, by God, when you get up the next day, take some more pictures. Get some comparison shots. I think that is the very most important thing we can do to get these skeptics to shut up about photographic evidence.
Well, you and I both know that
what's really there.
Right. The majority of these things have black fur anyway, so all they got to do is sit under a tree and not move, and they look like a shadow.
Exactly. And that's what they were doing. They were, just hunkered under the trees. And I'm sure that's what they do all the time. I keep threatening to do this, but I think I really am going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and make a compilation video of like a bunch of the blob squatches that I've caught. And there's actually comparative photos on some of them where I took a picture and then I took a picture a couple minutes later, or that, one in a series and then another, where you can actually see the subjects moving. And, I don't have as good of an investigation behind it as this new one, for sure. There was no crystal clear pictures later after the fact or anything like that. But I got some pretty telling pictures and stuff that has shown up in my research over the last few years out here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and probably share some of that stuff pretty soon. Just in the same light as Mitch Waite's face database kind of a thing. Making no claims, but just showing, what I have captured on film.
I had my own interesting pareidolia video that I was going to do. I was coming back from town. I had just watched a video that somebody else did on pareidolia, and I thought it was really interesting. And I went, with the stuff that I see around here where my investigation camp is at, and at that point I'd been up there for 3 weeks, I should just do a little one too. I get to see this stuff all the time that looks like a Bigfoot, and then you get up close to it and examine it, and it's just a shadow, or it's a trick of leaves and light and whatnot. And I'm walking back to where my camp is, and there's this thicket on my left-hand side, about 50 feet away from me. It's a little thicket, maybe 20 feet across, pine trees, and right in the middle of it, there's a stump sitting. And I'm looking as I'm walking past, looking at the stump, and the stump looks like it has a face on it. And I'm like, well, this is perfect. This is a perfect example of pareidolia right here. I'll pull my camera out. I'll get some video of this. I'll talk a little bit about how this isn't a Bigfoot. It's pareidolia, da-da-da-da-da. So I reached down on my left hip, and I went to pull my camera out. And as I was doing that, I stopped walking for a second, and I looked back at the stump. And at the exact moment that my hand got the case with the camera, the stump glared at me. And then I knew it wasn't a stump. And I decided that the best thing to do would be to just keep walking, because he didn't look at all happy that I was reaching for that camera. And sometimes I think that they think that like pretty much anything that we have in our hand potentially could be a weapon. But that was not a stump, and it gave me a nice nasty glare. Yeah, and the next day I went and looked, and there was nothing there. There was no stump there. So whatever, 4 feet tall, sitting down, glaring at me.
That's cool.
Scared the living hell out of me, because I was like, he was in between me and the road, and I was heading toward my camp, and it was almost dark, and I was going, oh my God, should I even stay up here tonight? He's only like friggin' 100 feet away from where my tent is. Scared the crap out of me, to be honest with you.
I'll bet. Well, that latest video was just, my latest video. I'm not one of those guys that puts out a video every couple days.
Right.
Actually, the last time I put out a video before this one, a research video, was July of last year. So it's been like almost a year, or 8-10 months. So it's not like I'm one of those post-happy guys that's just throwing stuff out there. That's for sure. I don't like to put out anything unless I got anything, especially after last year's stuff. It was so incredible. I mean, I've got to tell you about it was April 27th, 2015. And I had my stepson and my friend Daniel with me, and we went out to my regular spot. And it was the first time we were able to get out there last year. And I don't think anybody had been out there, especially out that deep. We were like 5 miles back from the campground, way back there. Okay.
Oh, that's way out there.
It is way out there. And only about 2 miles of that was on a trail, and after that we were off trail back in there. Because, by looking at maps, that's why I decided to go there. Not because I just thought, let's go there. I try to always study maps and see where we're going, whatever. But anyway,
right on.
So we get there, and we get out there, and the first thing that happened wasn't way off of that other trail, but we weren't all the way back in there yet. But we found this trackway that was on the beach of a big lake up there. And this beach is far, far, far end of the lake from where the road stops. The road comes up at the south end of the lake, and we were way at the north end of the lake, all right? And so we hiked all over there. And we found this trackway, like 6 tracks. And these tracks, I didn't actually have a measuring tape or nothing, but I did have my size 13 boot, which turned out to be exactly 13 inches long on the outside. And these tracks were a good 2-3 inches longer. So we're talking either 15, 16-inch tracks, something like that. Big feet.
Wow.
And it was on the beach, on the gravel. There wasn't like super definition in the toes, but you could definitely see the shape of a foot. Big wide foot. All right. So we see these, and I documented them, put them in the video, and I put like sticks next to each one, so even in the big shot you could see the stride. And right after that, and this isn't even in the video, but I got to tell you, right? We're still walking down the beach after we leave the trackway, and I see out of my peripheral vision, up ahead of us, I see what looked like a black figure come out of the bushes and turn and look at us and square up and dive right back into the bushes. And that was the direction we were headed. And I think that might have been the guy that just left the tracks, because those tracks were new. There was moisture in each track. You know, the top of the gravel's all dry, and you could see moisture in each trap. So it wouldn't take more than an hour or two for the sun to dry that stuff out, at the most. You know, that it was really fresh. So we keep on heading up that way towards where I saw something come out of the bushes, and God, I got to collect my thoughts. There was so much that went on. I'm trying to keep it all in chronological order. Okay, so we get up in there, and we're going through the woods, and we cross this little creek, and my friend and I walk around this little tree, and I thought we were all three together still, but actually my stepson had dropped back behind us and was still on the other side of the creek that we just crossed. So he's like 50 feet behind us. And, you know, he has a habit of like pushing over little trees and stuff like that, try to instigate them. So all of a sudden I hear this like tree crashing, and I turn around and I see this tree bouncing. You know, like 16-foot section of tree bouncing like right behind my friend Daniel, right where he just was a second before as he walked around that tree. And my very first thought was Brenton pushed over a tree or something. But then I looked back, and he was, like I say, 50 feet away back behind there's no way he could have done anything, honestly, nothing. Mm-hmm. And this thing was bouncing towards from where it came from. When I saw it, it was on the ground, all right? And it's breaking up, and it's bouncing this big piece of tree. Now, if you guys want to see the tree, all you got to do is watch that video on the Big Truth channel, April 27th of 2015 in Southern Oregon. But anyway, that was like the first thing that happened. So then I find this really, really extensive bedding area, like the biggest one I've ever found. That was, this tree had fallen there. We had a big windstorm a couple months earlier, and I'm sure the tree came down from that. But it was just such a mash down everywhere. Like not just one thing had been in there, but like many things had been laying in there. Mm-hmm. All right, so that was super interesting. And all through these scenes, people are sending me all these screenshots and stuff, and, you know, it seems like there's some stuff going on, all right? I'll just put it that way. Mm-hmm. But, so then and I was like, I don't, you know, those guys don't even want to follow me, but I'm going to go this way. And they were like behind me, and I started going that way where the rock, or where the tree came from and stuff. That's one of the places where somebody saw something that wasn't really too far from me in the bushes. And so then the other guys caught up to me. We looked at the bedding area, and then we kind of circled around over to the right. The bedding area is to the left of where the thing was, and then we went back where we came and, you know, still out into fresh area. And all of a sudden there was like a big thump, like a big rock or something had been thrown, or maybe a chunk of tree or something. And so we're like, what the heck? And this was like right by us, only a few feet away, something hit the ground. And now we're like freaking out. And my stepson's like, well, I don't want to get hit by another rock. And he's all, or I don't want to get hit by a rock. And he's all freaking out. And then also, we heard this clapping. And, I mean, I'm going to have to sit down the phone for 1 second. Like that. Up, and it came from up in the tree. And it was louder than heck. I mean, it was very, very loud clapping. And it sounded just like what I just did. It was either rocks or hands. And my stepson's saying, it came from up in that tree. And he's hiding behind trees, you know, looking up that way. And I go back with my video camera and I look up. They were actually a little bit behind me at that point. And I swear in this video, and during the video, I put a little thing down on the bottom. Do you see that up in the tree? And I swear I see something that looks like it peeks up over the bushes looking down at them guys, and then dives back under, like it was way up there in the tree and hiding itself in the foliage. Mm-hmm. And it looked to me like a black head and shoulders up there. And I wouldn't imagine it would be a huge one, but probably like a, you know, teenager or whatever. But,
right.
Yeah. So this happened. And at the time, I didn't even see it on the video or anything, you know what I mean? And if we were smart, we would have taken all of our phones out and all of our cameras, everything, and taken a bunch of different shots of that tree from different directions and trying to pinpoint what was up there, you know what I mean? But we didn't do that. And, I mean, in the heat of the moment, people don't realize you always get this stuff afterwards. Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? You don't understand what it's like when stuff being thrown at you and you're hearing strange noises and, you know, you got this sense of being watched and you know dang well something's going on around you. You know, it's a pretty fluid situation, you might say. And you don't know when you might have to just run for your life.
Yeah, it's like you're out in the woods, you run into a grizzly or a tiger or something, you get kind of the same reaction. There's something big and dangerous watching me.
It really is.
It's
like you're against a wild animal, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Okay, so just a couple minutes after that, my friend Daniel got hit in the back of the leg with a little stick. And he was behind us. Brenton and I were both out ahead. He was behind. And, I didn't show this in the video. I kept it out of there. But he actually had a handgun with him, and he pulled it out, and he was like, "Come on, mother." It was like in an intense fight or flight situation. He was ready to fight.
Not the best choice. Not the best choice.
No. I didn't really like the fact that he had it with him, but at the same time, you never know if you might have a bear or a mountain lion or something. So,
right.
In that respect, I was okay with him having it. But I made it clear to him that I didn't want him shooting a Bigfoot if we saw one, because I don't want to, end up dead. Because I'll tell you one thing: people always think there's just one. There's never just one. Never.
Yeah.
There are always more. There's always more than one. They're just like gorillas or chimps. They go in packs. They really do.
Yep.
I know that from experience. I can tell you that.
Yep.
They're the troop. Yeah. So he gets hit with this little stick, and then we start walking, and we start hearing this monotone whistling, and just like. And it's a ways off. And we all start whistling back and stuff. And then it would stop, and then it would go again, and then it would stop, and then it would go again. And it was really interesting. And I just said in the video that it was interesting. I actually have it on the video. You can hear it.
Nice.
And then I got this guy that lives in Medford, which is on the other side of the Mount McLaughlin from where I live in Klamath Falls. And he was like Class A skeptic all the way. This guy he's an anthropologist that studies the same thing that Meldrum studies, like bipedal foot motion and the evolution of human, footsteps. And he's also a field biologist. That was his study of work. Now he's retired. So this guy does really know his shit, excuse my language, about the forest. Nice. And he also has been hunting out there for the last 30 years. And he's telling me straight up that we're just a bunch of babies in the woods and nothing's happening out there. But I revealed the general area in my video. And since he lived right on the other side of the mountain, he decided to go up there for himself. All right? So he went up there. And he poked around for a little while. And then on the way back to his truck, he heard the same exact whistling that was in my video. So he heard it for himself.
Wow.
Okay, so this guy, he's a scientist. He knows what he's doing. He goes home and he starts looking on the internet and trying to find all the sounds of all North American mammals. He was pretty much convinced that it was some kind of ground squirrel or something that must be doing this, all right? So he goes, listens and listens and listens, spends hours, ends up listening to all the animals in North America. And then he went to the birds. He said he knew for dang well it wasn't a bird, so he thought he better do it anyway, just to check. So he goes through all the birds. Still nothing. He cannot find a map. This little video kept popping up over on the side as he's doing this, and he kept on not even wanting to look at it. So he finally clicked on it, and he found something that was almost an identical match to that whistle. You know what it was?
What?
It was an orangutan in captivity that had taught itself how to whistle. So the only thing you could find to match that whistle was a primate. Can you dig that? So, the guy comes out and he tells everybody on my YouTube channel and stuff that in the comments that, that he did this and that I'm not full of it, that I'm for real. And then I actually met him up there when we went for a lifelong hike, which, anyway, I took him out there with me and, he has even offered to buy me a couple trail cams now. And this was a complete skeptic, all right? And just through following my evidence, he has become my partner. So, that tells two things. One thing, that maybe something's really going on. And another thing, it's very valuable to actually banter with skeptics instead of just telling them they're idiots and deleting the comments. because it was hard for me, but I was actually communicating back and forth with this guy, even though he, totally insulted me in the first comment. Okay? So there's something to be said for that. That if you believe in what you're doing and you know it's true and you know it's real, then stand up to the skeptics and tell them. Tell them the real facts. Tell them what's up. Don't just delete them. Don't just get rid of them, because then they win. Then they can say, yeah, he was so scared to talk to me that he got rid of me, And that shouldn't be the way it is, If you saw something, you know for sure it was real. You weren't imagining it. You weren't dreaming. It was real life, a real situation. Then don't be afraid to tell people that that's what happened. And tell them this is the truth. Believe it or don't believe it. I'm not going to lie to you, tell you it didn't happen, because it did. And so a little further in the video, I get hit right square in the back with a rock as we're walking out. And we were a good 3/4 of a mile, maybe a mile away from where that tree was thrown originally, that piece of tree. So I thought we were like out of the area and down away from them. And all of a sudden I get nailed in the back. And my stepson was behind me. And I started around ready to punch him because it felt like somebody punched me right in my back. I gave him that look, and he's like, whoa, I didn't do it. Then in my Blob Squatch video, I'm going to have to show you what I picked up on the camera. I picked up camera, and I zoom in, and I'm saying, who's out there going wrong? Where are you? And on the left side of the picture, the left center, there's something over there, and it has a really white face. And again, this is why the other one that turned out not to be nothing really caught my attention, because this guy here had a really white face. As I zoom in, you see it fade off to the left of the screen as it gets bigger, and then it goes off. And the face on this thing is well defined. You can see cheekbones. It's an incredible picture. It really is. And one of the main reasons I haven't released it is because it's so creepy and so freaky. It's not what people think Bigfoot looks like, I'll tell you that. It's a huge black body and then this white face. Creepy as hell. I mean, I swear it looks like a demon or something. It's like scary. It's really, really scary. Everybody that I've shown it to goes, oh my God, what is that? All right. And this is where I keep coming back to. There's more stuff in the forest than we even know about. And I mean, this was, I'll have to show you. You can go ahead and put that in this. I'll show you where it is in the video, and maybe you could put it up, the little clip in there that shows them. But golly, pretty wild.
For the benefit of our listeners, I just wanted to let them know that we're actually going to try and get good quality versions of these photos up on the program so that you guys can actually look at the photos he's talking about while you're listening to this. And cross your fingers, hopefully we'll be able to get nice, clear versions. We've already been talking about how anytime you post something up to Facebook, you lose a lot of definition. So trying to circumvent that and get this set up so that you guys can actually get a good look at it. Because Dan's got some really good pictures here, and the better the quality, the more you can really, vet them yourself and go, well, this isn't a trick of shadow. It's real.
Right.
It disappeared. It ain't there anymore.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I just want everybody to know that I'm more than willing to send the original pictures to anybody who wants to check them out and try to either, vet them or debunk them, whatever. If you could debunk them, and if I'm convinced enough that you have debunked them, I'll come out and say they've been debunked, because like I said before, I'm after the truth. I'm not here to make a name. I'm not here to just put out Blob Squatch videos. I'm after the truth. Absolutely. So, yeah, I am open to anybody looking at any of it.
Do you follow very much of what Kelly Shaw does over at the RMSO?
Well, I have to be honest. I post a lot of his stuff, but I don't spend a lot of time watching it all.
But Kelly is another one of those researchers that I really, really give a lot of credit to, because he's had a couple times where people have found what looked like Bigfoot in his videos. He didn't see it at the time. And he actually went back and stood in the same damn spot and took pictures and video to see if it really was there. And there's been a couple times when they thought, potential Bigfoot, and he went back and, it just turned out to be a stump or something like that. It was a trick of light and shadow. And right away, he said, here it is. It wasn't actually a Bigfoot. Here's what our investigation uncovered. It was just a trick of light and shadow. You know, that to me is a real researcher. He's not afraid of debunking his own stuff. He wants to make sure it's real.
I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. You know, I mean, even this thing, even as good as it looked compared to the comparison pictures, I'm still so leery about putting it out just because there's so much backlash, so much, you know. And I know dang well that no photographic evidence is ever going to be good enough for all the skeptics, really. Never.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, because, you know, there's strength in numbers, and the more people, you know, vouch for this, the more credibility there is in the field. Absolutely.
Yep.
So anyway, on this video that has everything, on the way walking out, we find these handprints on this log. And we had to step over this log while we were walking in. This is on the main trail. And whatever put those handprints on there had wiped any tracks off the trail, including our own, from coming in, and then wiped their hands off on that log. And there was just like dirty hands. And as far as like proving any, it didn't really prove much because the hand size was just barely bigger than mine. So, you know, a big guy could have actually done it. But, you know, we were completely alone out there. All right. When we got there that day, there was nobody at the campground or at the boat ramp. And we walked all the way out there, spent hours. And when we walked out, after finding those handprints, there was one guy and his wife who were fishing right at the boat ramp, right there at the campground. Wow. So there was literally for I don't know how many miles, there was nobody around. We were there alone.
Yep.
Absolutely alone. So the thought that somebody went out there and did that is like really, really crazy. It's crazier than thinking a Bigfoot did it. To think that a person did that. It really is.
Yeah, it's the same thing when, you know, you're out in the middle of nowhere and you find one or two or maybe three tracks and you go, well, you know, is this a hoax or something? Well, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Who the hell would make fake Bigfoot tracks in the middle of nowhere where no one's ever going to find them? That just doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. I caught one on video in the May 2nd video. My next video after that was just, you know, a week later or a couple weeks later, about a week, I guess. And we went back up there, walking over this little hill. Off in the distance down the left, you can see something like stop and look at us and turn and run. And it takes like one or two steps, and you can, the foot back behind looks just like Patty, and then it goes back behind the bushes. You know, you can't see it. But at the time, I thought it was just interesting, and I was just looking at it, and I zoomed in, and I got, on that video, I went over it like 5 or 6 times. I slowed it down, zoomed it in, and it was still kind of up in the air, but I hadn't ever looked on it since I got this newer phone. And just looking at it on the little screen with the crystal display, I can see it clear now. I can see it really good, that dang Bigfoot on my video. It's crazy. I was like, wow, you know, and so much of what we see has to do with the screen resolution and the picture resolution, you know, and you can have the best picture in the world, but if your screen resolution isn't very good, then you're still not going to see nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
And it's pretty neat. I mean, you guys should check it out, especially if you got, you know, some more advanced technology and not like a 10-year-old computer to look on it. Then you're going to see something. You will in the May 2nd video. And
right on.
That's the reason that even though we've been out several times, I found little evidence here and there and stuff. I haven't put out no videos until this last one, because those events that happened last year were just incredible. You know, it was just really, really, and also during that May 2nd video, we had several rocks thrown at us, and I even caught one on camera. You can't see it, but you can hear it. You can hear it hit the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not just a hit like a thud. It's like, you know, bouncing over some of the rocks. So you can hear that it's a rock that was thrown. And it landed right next to my buddy Daniel. And you see the look on his face. It's so funny. He looks at me with a ghost white expression, and he looks behind him. And I swear, it's one of my favorite parts of any of my videos. It just makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, it's great when you can capture a reaction like that, too.
Yeah, it's classic. It's great. You know, it's just funny. But anyway, yeah, that's where the research is at right now, and I just can't wait to get back up there to where all that stuff happened last year. You know, it's just going to be great. I hope next weekend, like I said.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm in a holding pattern right now, waiting for transportation issues to be sorted out, and then I'm going to be back out in the woods again too. I got 2-3 places that. Well, I was just up at one of them here a couple days ago, and we found another weird. Looked like made by someone, sort of weird stick structure, and we found a tree snap, which was obviously not created by nature or a human, and it was right at the top of this other structure. So, you know, it's once you get, how to put this, once you find an area where you're pretty sure that they're around, keep looking around that area for more signs, and you're going to keep finding them if you're looking in the right places.
I exactly agree. Absolutely. Totally. Yeah. And he's had all kinds of stuff happen. Him and his buddy, you know, they go way deep in the forest, and there's these really cool trails, you know, up in the wilderness area and stuff where they ride. And, you know, they've had trees shake right in front of them, and they turn around and went back. And, you know, he's had rocks thrown at him, and they've heard whoops and yelps, and, you know, so I'm going to go meet with this guy today. He's actually kind of over in my area. He lives on the other side of the mountains, but he's over making a trail. And he actually showed me some pictures from yesterday, which is not too far from me over here, where there were some pretty nice depressions and stuff, look like footprints. And I'm actually going to go and check them out today when I get done with this and go see what's going on out there. And, you know, it'd be cool to meet them. And I think that's a great source to somebody like that spends a lot of time walking every weekend way up in the forest. I think if you can find several people like that, then you can get like an information funnel coming to you about the current stuff going on. Yep. You know, and that's important.
And
that's important for these.
I'd like to get back to what you were saying before about how to find an area where they're likely to be. You're absolutely right. They've got to have water. They've got to have food. They've got to have, you know, enough trees and whatnot where they feel like they can be elusive and hide when they want to, which is what they do most of the time. Just the basic knowledge of where they're likely to be, and go in that area and look around, and more often than not, you will find evidence that they're in that area. And you know, around here, I think they tend to be more opportunistic than they do in some other areas, because we find evidence of them really near town. And I think part of the reason for that is because we've got a big white-tailed deer population right now. It's ridiculous. They're just everywhere. I mean, you know, you see these things way more often than you see a rabbit or something. And that's a big part of their food supply. So if the deer are all coming into town eating the yummy grass on the yards, which they do year-round, they're coming from somewhere. And when they're coming through that area and going into town, where is it that they're going? Well, I found that spot, and that's where I've been finding all the evidence. They've got, you know, a nice choke point there where they can nab deer, and it's pretty near town. So it's convenient for me. I can just go up to this choke point where I've already found evidence and just keep looking around and just keep finding more all the time. So, you know, just to let folks out there know, you don't necessarily need a Bigfoot sighting from a certain area in order for there to be Bigfoot there. You need to look at actually a topographic map and figure out if it's, you know, there's like a juncture of rivers, if there's a bunch of ponds around there, you know, thickets, plenty of, anywhere that you find lots of evidence of other animals, especially large animals, really good place to look.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to hit on stick struck for a minute. You know, a lot of people don't give them much great credence, and you mentioned stick structures. And I find a lot of stick structures in my area. Okay, I mean, and you find areas where I've seen where I can turn around in a circle and see 9 leaners, what I call leaners. It's like an angled tree, and they're not rooted in the ground. They're placed there. All right.
Right.
And now what I'm getting at is I've also been other areas when I was scouting areas, trying to find an area. You know, I would go to these likely areas. I have walked for miles and miles and miles through the same kind of forest, same general elevations, and found nothing at all. And then I have spots where it's concentrated. There's stuff everywhere. You know what I mean? And that alone, to me, should mask the theory that it's all natural. You know, there's no possible way that it could be natural when it's not happening over there and it is happening over here. You know what I mean? In the same
Absolutely
forest.
right. You know, I found a good example of that last fall. I haven't even put it up yet. I recorded it back in November. I was up on Mount Sentinel, and I got into this one thicket area, and I realized there were just stick structures everywhere. At some point, I'll put this video up, and you folks will be able to see it, but I'm standing in one place, and I just turn in a circle, and I get 7 stick structures. This is in a thicket where you can't see very far. You know? It's ridiculous. Wow. There's no way that could have happened by accident.
Exactly. And you know what? I found this one spot that it was almost a perfect circle, little meadow, and there was trees all the way around. And it's like all these trees all the way around had a little leaner on it, all the way around. Almost like this was like a place where they congregated or something, or just a place where they marked who they were, what they did, or whatever. It was almost like a cultural thing. You know what I mean? Where it wouldn't just be like some dumb ape. It was really, really interesting. I mean, and it certainly wasn't natural, you know?
No.
And this is out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, you know, how I found that new tree snap that I just took a picture of a couple of days ago. I was up in the same area where I'd found the skeleton tree and some other tree snaps and, you know, footprints and a bunch of other stuff. And I started thinking that tree snap up there was all by itself. There was nothing else around it that was snapped off or bent or anything. And it was actually pointing, if you followed the direction, which way the snap was leaning, as if it was like an arrow pointing in a certain direction. Went about 150 feet down the hill from there, and there was a stump that had been decorated that had twigs, you know, laying against it all the way around it and some on top of it. And I started thinking about that, and I went, you know, what if this thing is pointing in a certain direction? So the last time we went up there, we went across the canyon from where it was in the exact direction where it was pointing. And guess what? There's another tree snap, and it's also pointing in the same direction. So I'm starting to think that these tree snaps are actually like markers for them for trails or something. Go in this direction. There's something over here.
I agree. Cliff Rockman found the same thing. When we interviewed him, he said that he found tree snap after tree snap, and he just followed the same direction, just like you said. And it was 3 miles that it kept going from tree snap to tree snap to tree snap, and it was like a hardly recognizable trail the whole way.
There may not even be any humans around these areas, and you're finding this one after the other, and you can follow them like a trail. Well, some of these tree snaps, I'd like to point out the one we found up there next to the skeleton tree. If you were going to say humans did that, it's possible. It's vaguely possible. There was no logs or anything near it that could have fallen, you know, or a branch from another tree that could have caused it to snap. This thing is green wood, 4 inches thick, and it snapped off about 6 feet up. So you got like maybe 3 bodybuilders on one side pulling it one way and a couple of them that are leaning on the other side trying to snap it so it'll go down like this.
Right.
No way.
Concerted
that ain't happening. There's no way humans could make these things.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, when you see a huge tree that's leaned up against another tree and there's no roots or nothing, you're thinking, how in the world could that happen?
Yep.
It doesn't just happen naturally.
Right. We had a stick and tree structure expert from the BFRO, Richard Soul, who was out here last October for the Big Sky Bigfoot conference. And after the conference was over, we took him up on Mount Sentinel to look for some evidence. And he found an arch that was about 11 feet high. The tree itself was about 18 inches thick. And the top that was bent over and now on the ground had a really big log about 40 feet long and about 1.5 feet thick laying on it that wasn't from there. So, again, this is one of those things. There's no trail there. There's no roads there. It would have taken heavy equipment to do this. How the hell did it happen?
You know, the main thing I do when I'm out there is be skeptical. You know, I'm always saying, could this have happened naturally? Could a person have done this? I'm always running through the laundry list. You know what I mean? I've never once seen something and thought immediately that's Sasquatch. I always try to run through the laundry list first and try to eliminate any other possibility. You know, a lot of times you only end up with one option. You know, you really do. And there's really nothing you can do about that. That's just the way it is. You know, you can't fabricate a reason for it to be there that's not Sasquatch. You know, it's just
Well, and the other thing is too, like you were saying, most of the tree and stick structures are circumstantial evidence, and they really are. But the further you are out in the middle of nowhere, the further you are from a road or a trail, the less chance there is that a human actually did it. And then you have to look at what other big animals are around that could do this. Is this a spot where a bear got rowdy with a tree and decided to snap it over for some reason? Is there claw marks on it? Is it a rub on a tree that an elk was doing? Or something? There's always a lot of options you can look at. And once you vet that and go through all those options and go, wasn't this, wasn't this, wasn't this, wasn't this, well, then you're left with who.
But, there's just so many aspects to this. And, we know so little about every little aspect that it's just basically wide open. It's wide open for discovery. It really is. Anybody that wants to go out there can actually contribute because there's no set science yet. You know what I'm saying?
And you don't have to be a professional woodsman or a guide or somebody that spends all their time working in the woods or anything. Anybody can go out and do this. Take a weekend, go out, go camping in some place that seems squatchy where there's been reports, and go look around, see if you can find any evidence. And don't waste your time looking on the trails. They're not on the trails. If there's some reason that they want to go the same direction as a trail, they'll stay 40 or 50 feet off of it. That's where you want to go look for their tracks.
Exactly. Like everybody talks about the Pacific Crest Trail over here because, there has been some sightings, and it's very secluded. It runs all up the Cascades here. Actually goes from Mexico to Canada. And
wow,
an awesome trail. But I've traveled some miles on that trail. There's no Bigfoot evidence on that trail because, as far as they're concerned, that's a people highway. Yep. And, I've been just a mile or so from the trail and found all kinds of evidence. But you're right. They're not right on the trail. They're not. You're going to have to get off trail a little bit if you want to find Bigfoot evidence. You really do.
Yep. One of my favorite spots to look for is thickets. They walk through thickets on purpose because they know we won't go through thickets. So if, they leave a trail or something, we're not going to find it. We don't go there. And, it's just surprised the hell out of me how much actual evidence I've found in thickets. Clearings in the middle of them with like a log on each side where it's a perfect ambush spot. Things like that, It's like, okay, what made this? Was there some hermit living up here that's camping in this thicket for some reason? If not, what else did it and why? And usually you find those in places where there's like junctions of multiple game trails. There'll all of a sudden be a couple logs that aren't from there and some brush around it, and you're going, okay, what's this all about? This isn't from here. Who drug it here? Why'd they make this blind?
Yeah. There's another spot I go to in the winter, which is right near a river, and there's a human trail that goes down there for like fishermen or whatever get down to the river. Mm-hmm. And about 40 feet or 50 feet off of that trail, if not more, a little more, through a bunch of really thick, almost can't get through thickets, and that there's a little area where there's these big, deep trails that goes from one shelter to the next, and there's all these little shelter things all around. And honestly, it's an old dump from like the 40s and stuff. And you like under these cars, it all totally cleared out, and it looks like somebody's been in there, and it's just amazing, all these nice, big, heavy trails. And you can see evidence. That's where I found evidence of actually using a tool from the junkyard, like a piece of iron, just a straight, flat little piece of iron. And somebody was using it, go in the woodpecker holes and pull out grubs or whatever out of this down tree. But I had these uniform little rectangular holes in this tree.
Wow.
They were not woodpecker holes, I guarantee it. I mean, they probably were.
No, they don't make rectangular holes. They don't make rectangular holes.
No. So to me, that's evidence of tool use, and it was right in the same spot where all these heavy trails and these things, and every direction out of there, it's like, you got to go through the thickets and the brush, and it's a steep hillside, and, it's not easy at all to get into that little area. And once you get there, it's like, I really think that's where, like in the dead of winter when it's really bad, that's where they're hanging out. Mm-hmm. When I can't get there because there's no dang way I can get down that hill when there's 6 inches of snow even,
And so they know they got a nice secure spot there. Oh, humans aren't going to come trudging up here. We're good,
Exactly. People can't do it, They can't physically do it. They're going to end up hurt, break a leg or something down the side of a mountain. Oh, I know we're probably running out of time, but I got to touch on this one thing. Last year at Beachfoot, Ed and I had a chance to sit down with Bob Gimlin and do an interview inside of Ed's RV. And for one thing, it's a huge honor that so many people have said that that's the best interview they've ever seen with Bob Gimlin. But I got to just tell you that being in that trailer or that RV with Ed Brown and Bob Gimlin and listening to him tell his stories, it's like the highlight of my life. It's something I'll never forget.
Wow.
It was incredible, man. He is the best dude you could ever hope to meet in your life. He really is. He's just an incredible man. He's aside from Bigfoot.
And I also have to mention that I think that the interview that Ed Brown did with Bob Gimlin is probably the best Bob Gimlin interview that's been done. Anybody out there that hasn't heard that, go check it out. It's a great interview.
It really is. It was just such an honor to be there, and for that, it was great, and it was just great. And, you know, I will stick up to Bob till the end of time, and I love that guy. And you know what? He told us something in that interview that he had never said before that is, to me, solid proof that it really happened. You know what? He was offered $1 million to come out and say that was Bob Hieronymus in the suit and to finally put it to rest. And he said no, because he will not live a lie and tell a lie for not even for $1 million. Now that to me tells me that it's, you know, why would he pass up $1 million if, you know, and he could come out with the truth, you know, damn the consequences. You know, if it was a hoax, why wouldn't he have done that? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense at all that he would say no unless he really is a man of integrity and that story is freaking true.
Absolutely. I have 100% confidence that his story is true and that video is real. It's been vetted so many times. And it seems like the better our technology gets, the less chance there is of anybody proving it a hoax, because we get more and more collaborating evidence from the technology we've got now that it was, in fact, real, and it couldn't have been a hoax. So there you go. And the other thing people need to remember is that for years, Bob made nothing on this. He didn't have control of the video. He wasn't making any money on it. All he was getting was a hell of a lot of ridicule from everybody going, oh, it's Bigfoot guy. Film Bigfoot. Want to go film another Bigfoot? You know, it wasn't like there was some big money at the end of the tunnel for him. He thought he was never going to make anything off this. He didn't have control of the video, and all he got was hell for years about being involved in it. So anybody that thinks that this was some clever thing that Bob set up, pull your head out.
Yeah. Honestly, you know, Roger Patterson was probably not the nicest guy. He totally screwed Bob. Honestly, he did. He had a guy impersonating Bob while he's doing a tour in Kansas City or something. One of Bob's friends came up and he said, "Hey, you're not Bob Gimlin." You know, when he's doing the tour, he had a fake Bob Gimlin with him, you know? I mean, Bob was totally not involved, like you said. He was absolutely not involved with the whole tour of the film and all that. You know, that was Roger Patterson trying to make some money off of Bigfoot. And he should have been able to, because he got the best footage ever. But I do not like the way he totally screwed Bob in that deal, you know? No. And Bob told us that on his deathbed, Roger apologized for what he did to Bob. And, you know, I
heard that too. He even told Bob, well, as soon as I get up and out of this hospital bed, I got some people rounded up that'll give us some actual funding. We can go do another research gig out in the woods. They'll be paying for it, and we can get some good video this time. And, you know, of course, then he died like a couple days later, so never happened.
Yeah. All right. Well, dang, it's sure been nice talking to you, man. And I've never met you before, but I'm sure looking forward to shaking your hand one of these days.